Goku versus every SCP isn't close. Video by Lonk's Takes.
The SCP Foundation is an internet series that requires zero introduction, boasting quite literally thousands of different unique entities and creatures across even more thousands of stories.
Yup. SCP-7935, men.
There are few pieces of fiction with a...
What the who the fuck was this? SCP Caveman versus Godzilla? What is this?
With a greater variety of concepts and mediums than SCP. The SCP Foundation details the successful or unsuccessful attempts of a mysterious global organization known as Special Containment Procedures to grapple with an endless stream of paranormal phenomena.
That shit would be so stressful. Okay, what salary? What salary would you need? Yearly salary. What is your yearly salary to work for the SCP Foundation? How much they got to throw at you per year to work containing SCPs? Hold on, let me set my timer. Let's see. 100 mil. Nigga said 100K? Nigga said 100K to work at the SCP Foundation. Dog, you could become an electrician and get that much, bro. I promise you, your life is worth more. 100K is not even crazy depending on where you live in, bro. If you in Cali, 100K not going. Like, okay, SCP Foundation, and your job is... Let's go with, like, you don't gotta do nothing crazy, but you gotta, you know what I mean? You do cross paths with SCPs every now and then. You know what I mean? And so maybe you're like the hallway walker, like a hallway walker type guard. You go through every half hour and walk down the hall and see what's going on. I'm gonna do it 100 M's, 1 year and I retire. 100 M's, 1 year and I'm done. Because with my luck, I come back for a second year and I accidentally sneeze at the wrong time and look at 096 out the corner of my eye. Now what? Now what? Was that extra 100 M's worth it? No. What's 100 M's if you're getting your nuts ripped off by 096? Absolutely not. Anyway, back to the video.
Known as SCPs. A couple years ago, I made a video asking if the SCP Foundation itself could contain Goku.
That's a good question. We might have to watch that. That's a really good question. Can they? Probably, maybe, depending on the writer. I guess if you go with some of the more glazed interpretations of the SCP Foundation, then the answer is yes. But if you go with the more grounded interpretations, the answer is fuck no. He could, instant transmission out of there.
But this time, I'll be putting the Super Saiyan up against the real stars of the show, the SCPs themselves.
Who the fuck is this nigga, bro? They put him up against the Plague Doctor. I already know this nigga nasty.
The sheer amount of variety found in the SCPs, from harmless objects with weird paranormal effects.
Oh, do these different symbols mean, like, are there different levels of danger? That's cool. I like that.
To world-ending scenarios leads the SCP universe to have some of...
Oh, who is this? What SCP is this? I'd be fine with interacting with this SCP.
To have some of the most varied and interesting power scaling.
Never mind. She finna send my ass to Jupiter. I'm good. Never mind. I was thinking out, let me lock in.
You can find in any franchise. So how far would Goku realistically get in the SCP universe if he decided to take on some of the most powerful and iconic entities the Foundation has ever cataloged?
Let's find out. Again, Goku is hilarious to me because, like I said yesterday in the Goku slander video, Goku is the only character that in himself is like a tier in power scaling. Again, there's a can beat Goku and can't beat Goku side of power scaling, and I can't think of another character that has that. So on the low, shout out Goku, bro, because that shows some insane clout.
Let's find out. If you like this kind of stuff, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's jump right in. Now, when it comes to the power scaling of SCP, there is simply no other series quite like it, because pretty much every other story or franchise has something known as a canon. The canon of any story essentially being the main official continuity that acts as the base of the story, with all other related works either being explicitly non-canon or just a separate continuity in the same franchise.
Right.
For example, if you consider the Dragon Ball manga as the main canon of Dragon Ball, then things like the Dragon Ball.
Whoa. Okay, we all know that Dragon Ball has a pretty has a pretty shifty canon as well, but I don't care. The 12-year-old boy that still exists in my soul says this on my screen right here is canon. I didn't watch that. I didn't feel what I felt watching GT, watching Gogeta, watching Broly movies. I didn't feel what I felt for you to tell me it never happened. Just like I seen people under the Sonic video saying Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog isn't canon. Yes, it is. Do you want to know why it's canon? Because it's canon in my heart. And that's what's important.
Movies, Dragon Ball GT, and even...
Like, come on, bruh. You finna tell me this not canon, bruh? You gonna tell me this right here wasn't canon in your heart? In your soul? It might not be canon in Dragon Ball, but it's canon in your life. It changed you as a person. Okay? This had me genuinely wanting to run around with fur on my body. This had me wanting to be a half monkey Saiyan thing. Think about wearing red eyeliner. Maybe that shit would be tough. This is canon in my soul. I mean, technically they made Super Saiyan 4 canon in Daima, right? But it wasn't this, man.
And even
It's kind of furry talk. I'm kind of a furry. We've discussed this on numerous occasions.
Dragon Ball Super and Daima could be considered non-canon or just separate continuities. The unique thing about the SCP franchise is that it explicitly has zero canon. This is because instead of having one author, SCP has hundreds of different people writing stories and making new SCPs all the time.
Like, I could make an SCP, you could make an SCP tomorrow that would be considered, I don't want to use the word canon, but legitimate.
And that's just what's on the main website and not taking
into... Oh shit, what is this? They made an SCP anime? Little animation? I might gotta peep that. What is this?
The dozens of video games, animations, or fan art that also gets made all the time. Therefore, when it comes to the most popular SCPs who have appeared in the most stories and have the most content made about them, there is no one proper way to scale them. Because
so we just gotta go with the most glaze in order to beat Goku, is what I'm hearing.
Any single person's interpretation of said character can be correct and official because at the end of the day, both nothing and everything is simultaneously canon. With that out of the way, we can finally begin to talk about Goku versus the strongest SCP has to offer, beginning with potentially the most popular SCP.
Shy Guy. This nigga... I'm probably bound to have a nightmare about this nigga soon. Let me keep it a stack. I know how my brain works. I've been intaking a lot of 096 content lately. I'm bound to have a nightmare about him. I'll report back on how it goes. Honestly, I feel like I could probably beat Shy Guy in my dreams. Like, in my dreams, I'm kind of broken. Even though I'm kind of broken, but like I'm kind of a bitch too, right? Like I had a dream the other night where I had One For All and it was the final battle. But I didn't want to leave. All right, y'all remember the compound that everyone was hiding in while Deku was fighting Shigaraki? I was hiding in the compound, bro. And they were like, bro, we need you out there. Like, you gotta fight Shigaraki. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be out there, but like in a bit. Let me chill in the compound, bro. Let me really like plan and think about how I'm gonna do this. And I ended up waking up before I even ever fought Shigaraki. You know what I mean? But you gotta move smart. You gotta move smart. Mind you, I fought Shigaraki low-key, now that I'm thinking about it. I fought Shigaraki in a dream before in my elementary school gymnasium. And like, I'm not gonna say he whooped my ass. Only thing I remember is that we were running at each other and we met in the middle and I jumped up and used float to go up to the ceiling. And that was all I remember. So I ran again. But again, I feel like 096, I mean, see, here's the thing with Goku. I don't know if Goku can beat these SCPs because Goku is a little bit too, let's say, straightforward. You know what I mean? Goku would look at 096. Like, if he knew not to look at him, he maybe wouldn't look at him. But there's a lot of like kind of finesse you have to beat a lot of these SCPs that I don't know if Goku has.
Of this year, SCP-096, the Shy Guy. Now, the Shy Guy is incredibly simple conceptually. He's an odd, lanky humanoid being that, if you see his face, no matter where you are, even if it's a photo, he will automatically know, and because he is so shy, he will stop at nothing until he kills you, even if you are halfway across the world. Now, in his initial SCP file, we get an interview where the Shy Guy takes on a group of soldiers armed with anti-tank rifles. In short, while the rifles could easily blow apart his skin and flesh, his bones are essentially indestructible and simply take no damage from their gunfire. Now, there are ways to get SCP-096 far stronger than this. The first is through popular animation.
That's Chris X Gamer. Yo, that's crazy. So they take his shits as canon. Yo, imagine having so much motion. Like, you like the definitive interpretation of a creature that you animated. You could tell he a One Punch Man fan too, bruh. That nigga 096 move like he's a Saitama villain.
By the YouTuber 𝙏𝙖𝙡𝙠 Gamer, who
is that how you say that? 𝙏𝙖𝙡𝙠. No, that says Chris. Yo, have I been butchering his name? My fault. 𝙏𝙧crisis. No, it's got to be 𝙏𝙧Chris.
Who put the Shy Guy up against pretty much everybody. He's fought Superman, Saitama, Yujiro Hanma.
Okay, he's not taking Yujiro. I'm sorry. He's not taking Yujiro. I refuse to. No, he's not taking Yujiro. I'm sorry. Y'all seen Yujiro in Tekken, bro?
Homelander, and most recently fought Conquest and Thrag from Invincible. Now, these animations are crazy, but more often than not, end with the Shy Guy actually losing, at least against the stronger characters. With the latest animation ending with Conquest eventually pounding the Shy Guy into submission after battling across a solar system. Funnily enough, though, we've seen Goku in these animations, and well, he just casually grabs the Shy Guy and teleports him into the sun in his base form. So if we say that the Shy Guy is at least around the level of a Viltrumite for surviving against Thrag, then he would easily be at least a Planet Buster. But this isn't actually his best scaling either.
I don't know if that scaling works, man. Shy Guy might have like crazy durability, but is Shy Guy really busting a planet up? I don't know.
You see, in one story, the Foundation attempts to kill the Shy Guy permanently by throwing him into the sun, just like Goku did, by having an astronaut look at his picture while right by the sun. It takes the Shy Guy 2 years, but eventually he makes it to the sun. But in this timeline, things do not end well, because somehow, after someone else back on Earth looks at a picture of SCP-96 again, the sun slowly begins moving towards Earth.
Yo. That nigga dragged the sun with him? Okay, I did see someone talking about that, bruh. Yo, it's never that deep. I get being shy. I'm pretty shy myself. It's never that, I'm gonna take the whole sun with me. Bro, what? Finna kill the whole planet over someone seeing your face, your visage?
Shy Guy technically also has a godly form, as in one story his body
transformations
was turned to something known as the Assassin of 𝙏𝙧 by an extra-dimensional entity known as the Hanged King, who could possibly be one of the more powerful beings in all of SCP. But technically, this isn't the Shy Guy anymore, and more importantly, to my knowledge, never actually done anything in this form. Regardless, I think it's safe to say that the Shy Guy at his peak is star level in power for
I mean, he dragged the sun, so, you know.
Being able to move the sun. Unfortunately, that is simply not enough for any Goku past Namek at worst, and even in that scenario, it took him
They were saying Goku was star level at Super Saiyan? But how did he get hit in the head with a rock?
2 years to reach the sun.
Why his mouth open so wide, bruh? Like, close your jaw. I know that shit be hurting.
While even if we say Goku is merely light speed, he could travel that distance in 8 minutes. So let's move on. From one popular SCP to another, let's talk
682, right?
talk about SCP-682,
Yeah.
one of the other most popular SCPs of
The
all time,
Adapter.
the hard-to-kill reptile. And again, just like Shy Guy, the whole gimmick of this character is pretty much in the name. This entity is a reptile with immense regenerative and adaptive capabilities, making it unkillable by the Foundation. This
Right.
wouldn't be too much of a problem, except that the lizard has a hatred for all
Yeah, that shit is hilarious, the way it looks talking, but just put it in the hydrochloric acid, right?
life and will gladly kill and eat any human or living thing. Now, SCP-682 has become a bit of a meme in the SCP community for being one of the most wanked and hyped up characters ever created.
They call him a potential man. All I see is if and when, but never is. No, don't tell me they calling 682 a potential man now, bruh. SCP community slander is hilarious.
On the site. They have made a profile called
SCP-682J.
SCP-682J, where he's essentially hyped up by a child as some unbeatable original character, do not steal, who is
They
better
called him an OC. Damn, that's fucked up.
and stronger than literally everybody else. This notion of the 682 being like the Z Broly of SCP is so strange because, at least as a baseline, he's clearly not ultra strong. The very fact that it is contained by the Foundation against its will is proof of this. It's through this that we actually have.
That's what I was saying when I was watching that 682 Glaze video. I was like, okay, all this stuff is crazy, but how do they just keep it in a bath of acid?
Have the logs of the Foundation attempting to kill SCP-682 with various other SCPs. Now, obviously, all of these attempts fail, with the lizard usually easily surviving the fight, and sometimes coming out stronger than ever by actually adapting to the ability that was used on him. Now, it would take a whole other video to go over every single thing the lizard survives here, but there's one I want to focus on,
Goku
as
is scared of
SCP-682 actually gets put up against the Shy Guy.
Yo, that was fire. He was right there waiting for him. That was fire. He was right there waiting for him. They lowered the picture down.
It's the Shy Guy.
He was already ready for that shit, boy. Yo, that's crazy. I'm not going to lie, though. How do you even make a picture of Shy Guy? And do you just sacrifice whoever has to make the picture? Or do you just print it and make sure not to look at it?
And loses, having 15% of his body remaining after a 27-hour-long fight where the Shy Guy only had some injuries and ended up just crying in the corner. In other words, while his regenerative and temporary adaptation may allow it to survive fights, it's not much stronger than 096 at the end of the day, normally. You see, in some stories and scenarios, the adaptation...
Oh, they use like AI to scan for his face. They be giving it to Great Sage ChatGPT.
Abilities of the lizard allow it to become gargantuan in size, from becoming the size of Saturn to literally consuming all mass in the universe. But still, being as big of a universe wouldn't be enough for Goku. Shockwaves from Goku's punches have literally...
These shockwaves, goddamn. What does that even mean? Like, even when I was watching this movie, I was like, what do these shockwaves ripping the fabric of the universe apart? What does that even mean?
Covered more area than that. So in a fight with Goku, its entire body might just get completely blasted apart until not even its cells or atoms remain like Cell or Kid Buu. And the reptile would never be strong enough to actually harm Goku back. However,
so
Goku would not be able to actually outright kill the reptile though, as it somehow survived getting erased from both reality by SCP-579 and having itself erased from the narrative by SCP.
Oh yeah, here come the bullshit. What does that mean?
P423. So even something as potent as the 𝙏𝙖 technique would not be a permanent end for the lizard. Essentially, the very story and concept of the universe of SCP will do whatever it takes to keep the reptile alive. This concept is often referred to as SCP-682-A. I'll mention that in a sec. But that doesn't mean it always wins its fights. 682 is easily capable of being knocked out by fighting beings way stronger than itself, like what happened when it fought SCP-001, and a KO is a fine enough win condition for me. So yes, in a standard fight with standard win conditions, Goku is the winner. But who is this SCP-001 guy that easily beat the reptile?
Okay, here we go. This is the first shit I've heard, and I know 001 is like the big unk, right? I've heard briefly about it. It's time to really tap into 001, bro. Let's see what we got.
Could they be Goku? Well, actually, SCP-001 is its own mini SCP universe in and of itself, as there are actually more than 60 different entries, called proposals, that are all both simultaneously and independently SCP-001. Because again,
Okay.
SCP does
That's
not
cool.
have an actual
Right, and this is like every SCP author's like final hurrah, right?
canonicity. Several SCP-001 entries act as a good jumping off point to introduce you to the truly extended high-end lore of the SCP universe. In fact, one could consider one of the main heroes
Okay, now they got the angel and the devil as 001. Cool.
and one of the main villains of the entire SCP franchise to both be different SCP-001 entries. The first one we already talked about is Dr. Clef's SCP-001 proposal.
Gate Guardian. Isn't that the name of a Yu-Gi-Oh card as well? Yep. Gate Guardian. What y'all know about what are those niggas' name? The brothers? The brothers from Yu-Gi-Oh? I don't remember.
The Gate Guardian, one of the few beings who easily defeated 682. The Gate Guardian is a
Paradox
glowing
Brothers,
angel-like being who
Okay, so this is just an angel. You're not beating this shit, bro. Sorry, Goku.
never leaves a designated spot in Iraq, obliterating pretty much anything that gets close. The Gate Guardian essentially created the Foundation itself, as their
Interesting.
main power is that it can give commands that every other being must follow, with it
Whoa, so it's God basically.
telling the original founder of the SCP Foundation to prepare. So how strong is this guy exactly? Well, before that, we need to talk about the other SCP-001
The
proposal.
SCP Devil.
Tufto's proposal. The
Scarlet
Scarlet King.
This was 096 Pops, wasn't it?
Karak. This being is so ridiculously and incomprehensibly powerful, it's going to sound like fan fiction, which
All right, let's get it.
technically is, but we're going to need to talk about the cosmology of SCP. As a baseline, the SCP universe is made up of an infinite amount of universes, with
Okay.
infinite timelines that are constantly generating infinitely every moment. Of course,
Okay.
the multiverse exists at the bottom of an infinite dimensional hierarchy, making the multiverse of SCP already explicitly high hyperversal. Beyond this begins a gargantuan hierarchy of realms beyond material composition, or in other words, outerversal realms that I do not have the time to go into right now. But one of the lower realms in this hierarchy is known as the Noosphere, which
Okay, right. This is just all information, right? Everything we can comprehend is within the noosphere.
is quite literally the total sum of all possible human thoughts and ideas.
Right.
And again, this sits near the bottom of potentially hundreds and thousands of higher tiers, with each tier being further and greater apart than the last.
Okay, tiers beyond what human consciousness can produce. Got it.
It's the Noosphere, at least in part, that allows 682 to be effectively immortal, as his concept is inherently linked to this place. This is important because the
That's kind of cool. So it's like because he is of, we are within the noosphere. His concept is part of the noosphere. Like we can never erase something that outranks us, basically.
Scarlet King has direct statements of destroying and shaking every sphere in all of existence in his battles against other gods, with the Gate
Whatever that
Guardian
means.
also being in this tier. You know how people talk about outerversal Goku? How he's beyond the concepts of space and time? Even if we were to
Do people be saying that about Goku now? Now that I feel like is Glaze with his old shiny cell shaded ass.
grant this to him, he would be so insignificant compared to both of these beings that they would never even know he existed, because he literally wouldn't exist in comparison to them. They'd see Goku as a fictional character thousands of times over. In a funny way to look at this, we actually know for a fact that Dragon Ball Z exists within the SCP universe, as Yamcha in Dragon Ball is brought up as a potentially Keter
Why are they always doing Yamcha Dusty, bro? Request denied. The possibility of a non-fictional group of interest enlisting the aid of planet-destroying humanoids poses even more of a risk than the Death Star. Even Yamcha would be a potential new Keter to worry about. I mean, that's low-key Yamcha Glaze, though, isn't it? Keter is strong, right?
Last thread, meaning that all of Dragon Ball and every possible way to scale it exists within the new sphere, and again,
Right.
gets destroyed by the Scarlet King. So, could Goku defeat every SCP?
No.
Fuck no.
No, because just too much Glaze to deal with.
But would he survive in the SCP universe? Absolutely. Again,
He cool.
the high tiers of SCP are
cool.
so far beyond most other works of fiction that there's literally nowhere for Goku to even fight them or
Also,
vice.
SCP kind of has an advantage when it comes to scaling bullshit because there is no one consistent narrative. And arguably for some of these authors, rather, narrative isn't important. I'm sure there are some SCP authors, and maybe I should go look into more of the source material, who actually care about the narrative of what they're writing and use the characters and the SCPs as a function of the narrative to come up with a cool story. But from what I've seen, just as many SCP authors are more on the power scaling side of things, where they kind of want to push the limits of SCP as a concept from like a meta perspective. How strong can I make these characters from a meta perspective? How can I reach new heights of strength using these characters as the vehicle? You know what I mean? And so there's probably two different things going on when we're talking about like SCPs, you know, two different goals being accomplished with the authors of these stories.
Versa. It's not actually a question worth asking. Now, in this video, I only covered 4 SCPs. 2 I think he could beat, and 2 he definitely can't beat, but there are literally, again, thousands of other SCPs that exist. If you like this video, as an introduction to the insane lore and scaling of SCP, let me know, and I will gladly put Goku or any other Dragon Ball character up against more SCPs.
I'm not gonna lie,
And
though.
if you made it this far...
I'm not gonna lie, though. Okay. Every SCP gathered together on the street versus Prime Deck. Who we got? Every SCP gathered together, feet to the pavement, versus Prime Deck. I'm gonna have to go Deck. SCP-000. Deck wins high diff. 682 begins to float so he can adapt. The nigga has float as a quirk. Deck was way ahead of that.